government still, if the investment goes down, will still pick up. You know, if you're in a certain bracket, will pick up a large portion of it. Possibly.
I don't think the average person understands that. The average investor in Memphis needs to be taught that this exists.
Well,
you might have more.
If I had
tax deferrals also under 181.
Sure, absolutely. There are various other things besides just writing off the investment. But the thing about it is that that's one of the things that we have to be able to tell people that, you know, you can lose it in the stock market, you can lose it in film, you can lose it in music. These are all risky investments, but the government is willing to pick up a certain amount of it. So, you know, if you're interested, here's how we want to set up this entity. So if it does go down, you're not that hurt.
And you get to hang out back.
There is one thing that's going to sunset at the end of, and they actually gave one more year. The American Jobs Creation Act for films came a part of that. It was going to be 2009 was the last year, but now they gave it, I think, one more year. Congress passed it, one more year, so that you can actually write off a whole film if you get it produced before the end of before December 31st, 2010. And they're working on more legislation, as I understand, to maybe put that into place, because as some of us know here, we won't mention any states, but some states that offer tax incentives don't come through with them, and those states are losing productions to other states.
Is that federal or is that just?
It's federal.
It's federal. Section 181.
That's Section 181.
And every year it's voted on in about November for that year.
To move it past one more year. It started under W, right? I think 2002, 2003.
What it allows you to do is write off the production budget in the year that principal photography starts. So you can start December 29th. Yeah, whatever. And the whole production budget gets to be written off in the year that you started principal. And it's really because the gains are ordinary.
That's yeah.
Moving forward, the gains are ordinary. So you can write it off today, ordinary, against what will be future ordinary income.
If you can't take capital gains on your benefit from that investment.
Not from the primary exploitation. You can from the library, but not from the primary exploitation.
Correct.
That's sort of leading on to our next question. What type of financing is out there? Yeah, that was great. What kind of financing is out there for? And I think for us, you know, maybe focusing on the smaller filmmaker, you know, what opportunities would be there?
Well, okay. When you say smaller, I mean, why don't you throw out a number so we can sort of
maybe up to 2.5 million, which is the SAG experimental budget, maybe below. Because I don't think there's not going to be like maybe 5 to 10 million at the top.
I think the top end would be 5
to 10 million.
But I think those would be the rare films.
I think over 5 could be.
Yeah.
So I think we're looking for
below.
You know, I think that, you know, we can create a list of 5 different sources right off the bat. They're all very difficult. I mean, there may be some bank financing available if it's collateralized. If not, you still can walk into a bank and get signature loans. I'm talking about for small amounts at high interest rates. There are foundations in Memphis that do grants for films. And just, this might sound silly, but, you know, if you have relatives, friends who are of some wealth, and you bring them into a boardroom and you can make a good presentation, I've seen it happen. I've seen $100,000 raised in that kind of venue. Rich uncles. I mean, you know, we can laugh about it, but there are people, even after the debacle 2 years ago, that still have resources that are interested in providing film financing. So it's around, and I'll let you guys pick up from there.
Well, there's for smaller films that have budgets from anywhere from $100,000 to 2.5, which is the upper. I think it's 2.5, the upper end of the SAG experimental. Used to be $1 million. They bumped it up to 2.5. there's lots of creative ways that you can bridge a lot of different financing. You can do film lab deals, in other words, for post-production, you get your principal photography done. And I advise those of you who are doing films, that's one of the biggest things I see that smaller, that independent filmmakers have a problem with is paying for post. They put all their money in principal, and that takes them 3 years. It takes them 3 years to put together money for post. Meanwhile, your film is 3 years old, the print ages, it becomes less, I don't know what's the word, marketable, because it's been there for 3 years. I mean, I can tell you horror stories. And, you know, and you can talk to a distributor to do a negative pickup if you've got, you know, somebody worthwhile attached, an actor that's got a name that's attached. You know, but bear in mind that all these little different types of financing you attract, you know, it's not quite the same as fractionalization of distribution, but in a way, it's fractionalization of your different, you know, investor sources, and they're all going to negotiate for last in, first out. And when it comes down to last in, first out, the winner is always the distributor.
Last in money, first out.
That's it, always. The distributor, that's it, end of story. And so there are creative ways. If you run out of money, you can do different things. For people who run out of money in post, there are companies who will say, I'll do your post for a percentage, for a negotiated percentage to back end, you know, etc. And you can go to an independent distributor, a smaller one, they'll put up some money. Bear in mind, they don't have the money that a larger distributor will to do P&A and to promote film itself. I mean, when you have film promotions, everything, we all know that marketing is the deal. A company like Crosscreek, that's where they spend their money.
Yeah.
In the story, that's where they spend their money.
Do they have anything to add? Okay.
I actually think it's easier. It's actually easier to get, you know, it's pretty easy to get $50,000 to $100,000 because I still think even in this lending environment you can go into a bank and personally sign off on loans that are, you know, they're not low interest loans, but you know, I'm thinking about really small, you know, upstart movie ventures, you know, $50,000 to $100,000. I still think it's easy, fairly easy to do.
There are many film funds, smaller film funds out that have capital up to by small I mean 50 to 100 million. Those are small film. There are, and the first thing they're going to ask you is where you're going to shoot the film, because they are these film fund groups, and there's many of them out there. You have to do your due diligence on them, like they're going. And by the way, they're going to do due diligence on you. If you have really bad credit, you're going to have problems. That's a fact, because nobody's going to lend anything. They're not even going to want to give you money, even though you're going to put it in a separate corporate entity. So that's something. Keep your credit clean as much as possible. But there are a lot of, the first thing I'm going to ask you is where are you going to shoot? Michigan, Georgia, these are great places. Although Michigan's running out of money now, so they've left Georgia's hot, Louisiana's good. You know, there are certain states they would say, where are you going to shoot? Because we know they have such and such true, real tax incentives and tax deferrals that they will give you.
So that's not necessarily for the producer's pocket, it's something that the people who are funding it are going to want to pocket.
To finance the budget.
To finance the budget.
So what you'll do is, for example, Louisiana that has tax deferral, they're transferable tax credits. And you can go in the market and sell them at 94, okay? And so then you go take that to finance your budget. Okay, but you have to have somebody to lend you the capital, because you don't get the tax credits until you've already spent the money. So you have to have someone to lend you the capital against the 94. So you get 90% of the 30%, I think, that Louisiana is against your budget.
But I mean, in Memphis, Tennessee, I know for a fact that, for example, the Plow Foundation has money available, you know, for specific subject areas. So you know, just you got to think outside the box, and you got to go meet with these people. There's money around.
The thing that you need on your team